hot off the presses, the UFC announces a new deal making Bud Light its official beer sponsor. Did the UFC just Bud Light themselves? Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, hello Bud Light, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. In this video, we're gonna look at what the actual deal is. We're gonna hear about some fans are calling for boycotting the UFC, canceling subscriptions. We're also going to hear what Dana White has to say as he pushbacks also what a UFC fighter has to say. But first, as we consider this, isn't this weird? The UFC, it's pretty freaking American. You look at Dana White being the head of the UFC. He is a Trump supporter. He brings Trumps out to the events in big arenas. Kid Rock playing in the background, Trump sitting ringside with Dana White. You're like, dude, this guy is American. You've just stuck his middle finger up in the face of all the COVID tyrants. Amazing. Dana White, he's quite an inspiration when he's not beating his wife in Mexico over New Year's. But aside from that, it's like, whoa, I like what this guy stands for. Really don't like the whole wife thing, but like a lot of what he stands for. And then Bud Light, it's grown its reputation to be the exact opposite. Obviously, the Dylan Mulvaney thing, $27 billion lost in market cap because they're idiots. And then Bud Light follows up by sponsoring drag events with children at them. And it's just like, wow, they have not learned their lesson. So, an overview. I think this is a brilliant move for Bud Light. I think it's a stupid move for the UFC. I don't think it's going to ruin the UFC. Here's why I don't think so. Before we get to the details, the UFC has a monopoly. People can boycott Bud Light because Bud Light does not have a monopoly. There's plenty of other beers. There's plenty of beers that are way better than Bud Light. So it's easy to boycott something that's just like crappy and you don't like what they stand for. Cool, you're done. The UFC, they have a monopoly. They are a powerhouse. And that's why I think it's genius of Bud Light to partner with UFC. A little surprising to me that the UFC accepted them, but genius of Bud Light because the UFC, it's a redwood tree. It's rooted in, it's not going anywhere. You're like, well, there's a few other fighting organizations. Yeah, but they're a lot smaller and the UFC owns them. So the UFC has a monopoly. Yeah, some people are going to be calling for a boycott of the UFC. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Even if you think it should go somewhere in principle, it's not going to go anywhere. I've been a UFC fan, and when I look at the principles of this, I'm like, I will continue boycotting Bud Light. Never bought them in the first place. But to be honest, I'm not going to boycott the UFC. They're in a power position here. So, let's take a look at the details. Anheuser-Busch and UFC strike multi-year partnership as Brewer tries to turn around Bud Light sales. Again, this is a smart move on Bud Light. The fact that UFC would accept them, smart move. So, details. Anheuser-Busch's InBev's Bud Light will again be the official beer sponsor for the Ultimate Fighting Championship with a 6-year marketing partnership, the company announced, and the sponsorship deal is allegedly well into 9 figures, so well above $100 million. I think Patrick Bet-David said it very well on Twitter. If there's one brand that can save Bud Light, it's UFC. Just from a business perspective, I think that's wise. I think it's a little bit risky, but not terribly risky, of the UFC to partner with them. Obviously, it's a bad look, but obviously they're strong enough, like 100-mile-an-hour breeze isn't going to blow down a redwood tree. So I hate to say it, but the idiots that were running Bud Light's marketing department aren't the idiots that put this deal together. And I would also guess a deal this big is probably in the works even before the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light controversy from 6 months ago. But some UFC fans aren't too happy about this, and some are canceling subscriptions. Let's hear about that. UFC fans cancel subscription over Bud Light deal. Some fans took to Twitter, one saying, I'm canceling my subscription and never buying any pay-per-view fights anymore until this sponsorship is gone. This is the worst business deal UFC has ever made, one angry fan wrote. Another wrote, how about you explain your pathetic Bud Light sponsorship? What are you doing? Rainbow uniforms next? Canceling my UFC Fight Pass subscription, said another. Yeah, so there's some unhappy fans. But realistically, I haven't seen any evidence that this is going to be anywhere near the tens of millions of people boycotting Bud Light. Lost revenue that the UFC incurs from some fans canceling subscriptions. compared to the well into the 9 figures they're getting from Bud Light. I think the UFC is just going to be laughing their way to the bank. Speaking of laughing, wouldn't it be interesting if, like, out of this new partnership, UFC creates a new category? You know, Bud Light sits down at the conference table with Dana White and they're like, okay, we want to pitch you a new fighting category. How about we do a new category? And we're going to, like, definitely sponsor this category especially. We're going to have men dress up as women and beat the living tar out of actual women. Right? It's going to be a little bit more blood, but it's going to be a lot more empowering for women. That's just fun. I kind of hope that happens because it kind of is actually happening in real life. Not in the UFC, but maybe Bud Light's going to pave the way for more women's empowerment. So what does Dana White have to say about this? There's a clip of him on Sean Hannity basically talking about and defending this controversy. Before we watch it, I will say this. I think Dana White, I do think he operates on principle. You say, well, look at Bud Light and what they still sponsor drag shows for children. Yeah, I don't think he operates on those principles. I think he operates on business principles, which is still principles. My preferences, someone's operating on heartfelt principles, but he obviously has business principles. He's built a multi-billion-dollar company that started at something that was next to nothing. So my guess is that Dana White is staying principled on this deal. That's why he signed it with Bud Light. And the principles he's standing on are his business principles, where it's like, oh yeah, the highest bidder, give us the most amount of money, we'll do that. And he can also rationalize, like, you know, I don't like what they did over there, but like they probably don't like the fact that I beat the out of my wife over New Year's and that video's gone around the internet. So who am I to judge? Bring on Bud Light. That's my guess. He's just probably operating from business principles. But let's see what old Dana White has to say.
Yeah. You know, well, first of all, let me start with, you know, they were the first beer company that we really did business with. They're our first real big sponsor when we were getting started. And now we're back with them. And going into this deal, you know, I know all the controversy and everything else. But for myself, going into a long-term deal with another sponsor, I want to be with somebody that I'm actually aligned with. And I know people were upset with what they did, but I'm looking at it.
By the way, I think what we're going to hear now is essentially the PR part of Dana White's mind. He's going to rationalize, share like how they have common values. And it's like, fair enough. That's probably true. And fair enough, he's probably doing a PR spin to make this look less bad, pulling on common values to like kind of justify and, you know, hopefully subdue the wildfires. But
all the good things that they do, you know, they employ 65,000 Americans. They have thousands of vets.
By the way, 65,000 Americans and dropping. Hashtag boycott.
That work for them. They spend $700 million a year with U.S. farmers using their crops to make their products and many, many other great things that Anheuser-Busch has done in this country. And
by the way, when I hear those, I'm like, dude, yeah, Dana, you kind of make Bud Light sound good. Like, I agree with everything you just said. Still, like, what they've done on the other side, it still weighs more. But it's like, yeah, Dana, you are good at PR. Like, got me halfway convinced. Not totally, though.
Those are the things that I'm focused on. When I look at a long-term sponsor that's going to be, we're going to do a 6-year deal here. I want to be with somebody that I'm aligned with. All those things that I just mentioned to you are what I'm all about.
Cool. So, of course, he's not coming out and saying, like, I love what they did with Dylan Mulvaney, nor is he really actively criticizing it. He's mostly bypassing that. Makes sense. He's in a business partnership. He's not going to throw them under the bus. Makes them look bad, which is bad for business, and also makes him look bad because he's now married to Bud Light. But it's like, all right, yeah, good PR spin, Dana. Fair enough. And before we get to what one UFC champion has to say about this, we can't not acknowledge the Babylon Bee, their brilliant meme about this. To shed gay beer image, Bud Light partners with sport where sweaty men in underwear hug for 25 minutes. Yeah, that makes it make sense. Now, Sean Strickland, he's a UFC champion. He beat the amazing Israel Adesanya. Might not have said that right for the title. So anyway, he is a major force in the UFC. Here is a short video he released on Twitter.
So guys, I'm on my way to training, and I just found out Bud Light's a new sponsor. And God, I applaud you guys. I am so proud of you guys for doing the right things after that.
By the way, when he's saying so proud of you guys, he's talking about and to Bud Light.
You know how I feel about transgenders. I go hard. Just what I do. I'm the biggest advocate of biological females. If I said my views on transgenders, I would get kicked off Instagram. But I cannot wait to pick up a big old Bud Light can and fix you, Bud Light, because you guys are doing the right thing. I, Sean Strickland, a representation of the American people, are going to fix you, Bud Light. Thank you for giving me money. Thank you for supporting my platform. I'm going to help you guys.
Fair enough. It's kind of a balanced point of view, if you ask me. He's very bold with, I don't like what they did, and if I said my actual views on trans, I'd be kicked off Instagram. But thank you, Bud Light, you're doing the right thing. He acknowledges, you're giving me money. Basically, you're supporting me, you're supporting my company, my platform. But he's also seemingly glad that he and his brand, the UFC, are going to have a chance to fix Bud Light's image. There's probably a lot of us, and I'm probably one of them, who would like to just see Bud Light burn down because it'd be more fun, it'd be more gratifying, and it'd be more of a powerful message. But then there's other people who are like, dude, what they did was so screwed up, and I'd like to see them fixed. So coming from a fighter, compared to my point of view, I think I have the more violent point of view. Not ashamed of it either. But tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think the UFC just Bud Lighted themselves? Do you think this is stupid? Do you think it's going to harm the UFC? If so, how much? Do you have a place of amnesty in your heart for Bud Light? This has been what I think about it, but let me know what you think about it in the comments. I'll look forward to seeing them, and also look forward to seeing you on our next video. But before that, I have a special message for you. I believe health equals freedom, and that's why I started Awaken CBD, because I want to help support the viewers of this channel, myself and my family, with the most important element of freedom there possibly could be: your health. With Awaken CBD, I am proud to bring you the highest quality CBD in terms of potency and purity available on the market. Personally, I love using CBD to help my sleep and ultimately give me more energy, help me recover from bumps and bruises, aches and pains, and help me relax from the daily stress going on. Now, I'll tell you this, I think there is immense power in good habits done consistently. And when they are, I call those my freedom rituals. And taking CBD is one of my freedom rituals that I absolutely love. And if you'd love to bring a freedom ritual into your life with Awaken CBD, I'd invite you to check out our full line of products, including full spectrum CBD oil, CBD gummies, sleep gummies, and also introducing Nano CBD. I'm stoked that we can now offer Nano CBD because it breaks down the normal CBD molecules into little nanoparticles, which enables your body to absorb more of the CBD faster, which gives you all the CBD benefits you love, just with more potency and quicker. So if you'd like to bring a freedom ritual into your life, please check out awakencbd.com. I appreciate you.